Hello everyone. This is now week 4 and 5 for our Master of Education students studying with me. And while you all do different units, and as a result your workload will differ from one unit to another, some things are shared. So let me take you now through a number of housekeeping points so that we can get it out of the way and get on with learning. Not that we're not learning here, but to begin with, all of you have finished now your project proposals. This is semester 2 and we're all pretty much now independent and able to actually do some things on our own. Now, in your project proposal, you will find that under the section about the project plan or project design, I have inserted this kind of table. Some of you will have different things here and different things in this column. Nevertheless, you will have things that I have identified as requiring your attention. So why did I do that? I did that in order to actually assist you in the process of your literature review. The point of the literature review is not to list things, right? It's not to list things, but actually to produce an argument. And how can you produce an argument as a result of your readings when you actually can't see how things actually relate to one another? So let me actually make a few points here. So as you can see, I have added now this particular text here right on the top. So let's take it step by step. Your assignment 2 will be a follow-up of assignment 1. So your assignment 2 will include the bits that you have written for assignment 1. You can now edit assignment 1 a little bit so it looks tidy and it doesn't have my corrections and it looks all good. Now, assignment 1 is basically a problem statement and a rationale, right? Your rationale explains the things that you needed to explain and you will no longer need to explain them again. The literature review, which is assignment 2, will now get on with the things that matter to your problem statement, right? So now we have the rationale. We have a short section which is about how you plan to actually go about your project, and now assignment 2 will start. And in assignment 2, what I would like you to do is the bits that are here first to be explained. So some of you will have some principle relating to a particular quality of something to be explained. So that quality of something will need to be explained in relation to a number of maybe one principle, but just different dimensions of the same principle. So I call them principles. They could have been called criteria. And then when you actually go through your readings, you would identify the things that you said in your problem statement you will be identifying. That's why I insisted on that word identify, because at this stage of our learning how to actually produce a research paper, we need to be very precise with our vocabulary so that we can stay focused. Right? Later on we can produce synonyms and variations on words. So once you identify in your section 1 of your literature review what are the dimensions of the thing that you want to talk about. So for example, let me assume some of you might want to talk about the quality of learning or quality of teaching. And now throughout this video or throughout maybe I'll just cut this video about housekeeping and produce another one which will actually be about the things I want to cover for this week. But we will be learning this week about a principled way of looking at the term of quality teaching. But once you actually identify what quality teaching is on the basis of the literature and also on the basis of the things that you will cover with me, so that you can actually do it in a more consistent or expert-like way, then this term of quality teaching, what it embraces, will have different dimensions. And those dimensions will be the principle 1, the principle 2, and the principle 3 of the concept of quality teaching. Pardon me, principle 3, principle 4 and 5, however you will want to scope it. So then, so once you have these principles, this term or this concept of quality teaching defined, which is the beginning of your assignment 2, and you outline how this concept translates into these different dimensions, then it will be very clear what these things are about in your assignment 2. Right? So what I would suggest that you do this and then create a table. And this table will allow you to write here examples of the ways in which schools might be working or addressing these specific principles through specific strategies. Right? So a table of this kind will represent the things that you have found in the literature in a very neat way. And then, once you have this table, and I'd suggest to put it before you actually start doing your writing. So put it after you explained the concept that you are actually addressing and its different dimensions. So after it and before you actually get on with the discussion of this table. But you will see that as you read and you actually fill the table here, you will get a pretty good map, right, of what's going on. You may find out that particular aspects or particular dimensions of your concept that you are actually addressing, which is the quality of teaching, are actually not attended to. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? So, once you have actually mapped your readings onto a table like this, then as you actually start writing your analysis or your of the literature review, you no longer list one strategy after another one after another one, and the paper will never end. What you will do, you will produce an argument. And the argument will be, judging on the basis of your readings, what picture is emerging. What kind of picture is now emerging from what you have actually read? And telling the story about the picture that is emerging will be your literature review. Very different, what you call an analysis probably, but very different, right? Rather than list those things and nobody knows what to do with them, you will not be listing them, you will be talking about the picture that emerged as a result of your readings, as a result of you comparing this with this and with any of those principles, right? Trying to actually create a map. So that's very neat and very clean and very understandable. Now, I could leave this little housekeeping discussion about this item right now because you're very clear now what to do. But for assignment 2, but what I would like to do is to mention two things. the questionnaire aspect, we will be learning about how to do the questionnaire in a professional way for assignment 3 later on. So please do not be anxious about it. I will produce a tutorial about the questionnaire shortly. So that's one thing. But second thing I wanted you to think of is, remember how I became quite interested in Clayton Christensen from from the Harvard Business School. Now, the reason why I like his teachings, not only because he's a professor there, but also he seems to be actually challenging us. So, for example, when we think of the concept strategy, right? It would be good actually to define what strategy is. So maybe even before you start writing the analysis here of these things, after you've defined the dimension of the principles, maybe you will tell us in your assignment what you see as a strategy, right? What is it? What is it that you call in your assignment a strategy that you will be actually looking for those items in the literature for, and you will be actually placing them in those slots. Now, many people think of strategy in many different ways. What I did like is what actually Christensen said. He said, strategy is not an event, but is the ongoing process that actually is implemented and functioning in the company 24/7, 24 hours a day, every day. Well, that's challenging, isn't it? Because we might actually hear somewhere say that in relation to addressing change or going about creating change, schools have professional development workshops. They are scheduled in, and they actually may not be going on every day. But are they? Is there a place in the school where PD workshops or PD interactions are actually part of the school's normal activities every day? What does the school do to ensure reflection? So that's a very different question than basically saying, oh, 3 times a week, a year we have these PD workshops and it's all cool and we can't remember. The thing is, you might insert in the table information of this kind, which is about those once a year, twice a year workshops, and actually look at them as a strategy. But I would like to challenge you and ask you to think about strategy as those ongoing processes. And now I wonder, if we define strategy as an ongoing process which goes in a company or in an institution or organization all the time, I wonder what kinds of strategies then about change management. Many of you are actually writing about change management. I wonder what kinds of strategies would you identify? But isn't this now helping you to actually narrow down how you will look at the concept of strategy as you are reading? Do you see? Do you see what happens? The better you define the elements that are parts of your analysis, the easier it gets to actually find them in the literature, right? So that would be actually quite interesting. Rather than think in a disorganized way or generalistic or commonsensical way about the concept of strategy, wouldn't it be nice to actually talk about strategy actually the way how people in business or academics in business think of a strategy? And now we could get a pretty good insight as to how schools actually go about change management, right? So this is what I wanted to say on this subject. So yes, please do, of course, make room for these casual moments in the life of a school where twice a year or 3 times a year or 5 times a year there's budget allocated for professional development workshops. But do also look for the detail in regard to how schools actually manage change, how they manage themselves. Because if we're talking about change management, wouldn't it be interesting to actually look at the strategies that schools employ to manage themselves? And managing yourself means how you are on a daily basis, not once a year. So there. So your assignment 2, to summarize, will have um, the terms identified, the terms that you will be comparing identified here. So what is, for example, if you're looking at quality of teaching, what does it mean? And in terms of what principles or criteria will you break it down? What kind of dimensions you will identify? And each of those principle 2, 3, or 1 identifies refers to those various dimensions that you will identify here. So you have to describe them. So we pretty much, um, as we read your assignment or look or begin to actually look at your table, we know very well what you're talking about, because before you actually gave us the table, you defined the category. Now also, I would like you to actually think of defining the category of strategy. That will help you not only in knowing what exactly to focus on as you read the literature, but it also will help me to understand the table. And actually, as a result, read your assignment in an ordered way. And that sense of order is actually the um, the, the critical element of any writing. Uncritical assignments are messy. Uncritical projects are messy. Critically informed projects are the ones. By informed, what we mean is that terms are specified, and as a result, we get pretty good order here. So this is about assignment 2, how to go about it. So now as you actually then start writing, you'll be producing arguments, backing up your understanding of what happened in that table. So that's the first thing I wanted to say for this video. And the second thing I wanted to say is as follows. We have some deadlines. Obviously, we have deadlines. We're at the university. Now, students who are enrolled in EPL 508 and 509 will have their presentations in front of me, Sue Shore, and other staff members of the School of Education. Peter Kell will be there. And so we have actually made an open invitation for everyone in the School of Education to come and actually witness your presentations, but this is at the cost to them. They will actually have to provide you with some feedback. So we're not opening the doors for anyone just to look at you. We actually will want those people to give you informed feedback, so that when you actually start finalizing your assignments for week 12 and for week 13, these assignments are then better constructed, right? So your presentations are not assessed, but they have to be good in order to actually give other staff members a pretty good clue of where you are, and they will help you so you actually can improve. So that's a good thing. The same will happen with the students enrolled in EPL 501. I don't know how many actually staff members of the school I might get in. Probably nobody, because it's really late. But in principle, the objective of the week 12 is for our students to actually make final presentations and get some um, feedback before they actually submit assignments. Now, what I need to also say that week 12 is the final presentation, but through the week 10 and 11, we will all be already looking at our work so that the feedback that you get is continuous, ongoing. So by week 12, EPL501 students will be actually pretty much confident about their writing. So week 10 and 11 will contribute to you getting confident, and on the week 12 you might actually produce already your final submission and also your final assignment. You might actually be finished. So that's what I'm aiming for. Hopefully this housekeeping part of this video was informative. I will close it here and I'll record the next intellectual session of this podcast separately.